We would really like to welcome you today to the Virginia Farm to School webinar series. This is a collaboration of Virginia Cooperative Extension and the Virginia Department of Education School Nutrition Programs. I'm Amber Vallotton. I'm a Produce Safety Extension Specialist at Virginia Tech, housed in Blacksburg, and I co-lead the Virginia Cooperative Extension Farm to School program team. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Janelle Smith, who is a family consumer science and SNAP Ed extension agent that's housed in Lynchburg, and she is also a member of the VCE Farm to School program team. And before we get started, just wish you all a very happy National Farm to School Month. And this is Farm to School Week in Virginia, so we're really excited. There's a lot of really great things that are going on right now. If you'd like to, you can visit the Virginia Department of Education website, and you can search for Farm to School, where they have a lot more information. And I know that there's a lot of great things going on this week. So to get on to today's webinar, this webinar series is designed to support and explain each chapter of the Virginia Farm to School Toolkit. This was developed to guide VCE extension agents, school division administrators, school nutrition professionals, educators, school garden coordinators, and others toward using farm-to-school practices as a means to increase equitable access to fresh, healthy Virginia-grown food, while also providing hands-on learning opportunities in a variety of educational settings. Today's webinar is entitled Connecting School Gardens and Farms to Students in Cafeterias, and is based upon Chapter 7 of the Toolkit. School gardens are an integral part of farm-to-school programs. They offer a wealth of educational opportunities and engaging spaces to explore the entire curriculum. Whether they are container or sensory gardens, school farms, greenhouses, or other kinds of food production, school gardens serve as hands-on interdisciplinary classrooms for students of all ages. With that brief background, we're really excited today to be joined by 4 panelists who represent extension, school systems, and nonprofit community organizations. Our panelists will be sharing their stories about how they have developed and worked with school gardens and farms, and some tips that can help you in your farm to school efforts. We want to thank you each for being here today, and we're really excited. We have a very wonderful panel arranged for us. So once our panelists share their stories, there will be time for some follow-up questions. So please feel free to add your questions into the chat box as the panelists are speaking, and so you can get their perspectives once they present their slides. I know that Janelle will be monitoring that chat room, so again, please feel free to put your questions in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let each person introduce themselves as they present their slides. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Carol Haynes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carol Haynes. I'm with the Virginia Cooperative Extension office in Franklin County. I serve Franklin, Martinsville, Henry County, and Pennsylvania County. I'm also a unit coordinator there, and I've worked with the school gardens off and on over the years. I've been with the Extension for almost 20, and we've tried it in different facets and in different parts of the county. But we've got a garden right now going at Sontag that's probably about close to 3 years old, and it's been a wonderful partnership. And they're just our Sontag stars. They're growing. We're growing the next generation. The teachers, administration, we're all working together. Next slide, please. We've started out with establishing a great relationship with the school administrators. Down at the bottom, you can see a couple of our people. The lady in the flowery type shirt, she is our school principal there at Sontag. She's a great administrator. She's been there a long time. She knows the importance and the value of working as a team. The first thing we had to do was set up a meeting with her and our support staff and teachers to try to build that relationship and to let them know that we're here, what we do. She had a background with extension. She also knew a lot about school gardening and that type thing. And we've got a master gardener involved, and we also incorporated our 4-H agent Amber Wilson there. Since it's youth and it's youth development, we want to make sure we include as many agents and as many people as possible, so the kids get a well-rounded educational program from extension. Next slide, please. You know, like I say, again, connections and understanding the importance is a big deal when you're working with community gardens in the school system. You've got to build that relationship. Maybe you've worked in the school system doing other programming or had an ag day or something in the past. So again, you know, you've got to have that connection in order to go in and work with the students and work with the teachers. Next slide, please. Teaching kids is the importance of gardening education. I'm just going to read it to you. It's a wonderful endeavor that goes far beyond the boundaries of the classroom. It not only nurtures their connection to the natural world, but also instills valuable life skills and lessons. Through gardening, children learn patience, responsibility, and the miraculous process of growth and renewal. They discover the magic of nurturing a tiny seed into a thriving plant and the satisfaction of harvesting the fruits of their labor. Gardening education fosters environmental awareness, teaching young minds about sustainability, the vital role of pollinators, and the delicate balance of ecosystems. Moreover, it encourages a sense of wonder and curiosity as children marvel at the beauty and complexity of the living world around them. In cultivating their own gardens, children sow not just seeds, but also a lifelong love for nature and a deep appreciation for the earth's gifts. And I selected some pictures that we had just recently from our last garden. Down at the bottom left, we're showing them how to harvest. The kids were so excited, and you can see the little girl on the right. She's had this huge, it's actually a radish that she pulled up. These kids were so thrilled just to be a part of this, and they looked forward to this every time we came out. If it was once a week or twice a week, they were excited, and they asked about this. They said this is one of their better projects that they've had in the school system. The kids loved it. The teachers were really happy with it. So next slide, please. And you can see, the kids playing in the dirt. Everybody likes to get their hands in the dirt. So, the old saying, what are you growing, or what's in your wallet? So what's in your garden? What's in your backyard? These kids not only did flowers and plants, but they also helped with the rock garden part of this. We're also trying to implement next year a sensory garden in the county. So this is a good introduction. Like I say, we didn't just do vegetables, we did flowers, we had a small rock garden, and it gave them some room to be creative and, learn about some native plants as well. So we pulled in our master gardeners during this portion as well. Next slide, please. Again, volunteers are the backbone of VCE, or Virginia Cooperative Extension. They play a vital role in our mission. Without volunteers, we really wouldn't have a program. It takes more than just agents to run a good program. And you can see on the left here, we've got several of our Master Gardener volunteers. We incorporated some forestry projects along with the school garden. We also brought in Jason Fisher. He brought in some trees and some educational ideas for the kids. They took home tree samplings or tree sprouts. So that right there was another part of our gardening mission, was to make sure that they knew not just about fruits and vegetables and flowers, but also about the trees and things that are native to our area. And, we wanted to share our knowledge with the kids. Older folks, have a lot to give people as far as like experience. So this was a great way to incorporate our master gardeners. Next slide, please. I'd like to say thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Next person that will be up will be Andrea. So Andrea, take it away.
All right. So my name is Andrea Davis, and I'm an agriculture and natural resources agent with a focus in horticulture. And up until about a week ago, I was the agent in Virginia Beach, but I am currently the agent in the city of Suffolk. So just a little change of scenery. Next slide. So in the city of Virginia Beach, we were lucky in that the schools have a sustainable schools office. So they have this driving force behind them that tries to encourage them to do different conservation projects in each school. And that can range anywhere from recycling programs to things like school gardens. And they help to provide some resources as well to kind of help these schools get moving with that. Next slide, please. However, you can see here from these statistics that the school system is very large. There are 86 schools in Virginia Beach. And there was one of me. And I did have some Master Gardener volunteers. However, it just wasn't enough to spread throughout the schools to assist all of these different schools with school gardens. We found that was very important. We really wanted to help. So we kind of put our heads together and said, how could we better serve the school system, as large as it is, in helping to promote school gardens in the different schools? 65,000 students. We really want to try to, touch as many with this information as is possible. Next slide, please. So what we decided to do was to, take this elephant bite by bite. And so we decided the way to attack this was to actually get to the teachers. A lot of the teachers were interested. Some of the teachers were voluntold. And so they wanted assistance. Not all of them were necessarily gardeners. Not all of them were science teachers. And so we thought, well, hey, if we can give them some background and empower them, then maybe we will see more success with the school garden. So I developed a train the trainer program called Building a School Garden, and put it together. And the Master Gardeners in Virginia Beach helped with the program as well. And we started it out as a workshop format, and we had it set on a Saturday. And we actually went through the Virginia Beach City Public Schools with this program and got it approved for professional development for the teachers. So not only were they learning how to do this aspect, but they were also getting credit for it as well. So there was a little more buy-in there from folks. So that worked out really well. They handled all the registration for us because they were going to assign the credit. So Virginia Beach City Public Schools did the registration for us and then just sent us the registration list. We had the program over at the research station, which was closest to us. That was the Hampton Roads Agricultural Research and Extension Center in Virginia Beach. And we were able to do, some lecture aspects, some hands-on aspects, and really get these teachers to kind of delve into this. Next slide, please. So here are some of the folks at our initial training that we did with them. It turned out really well. We were at capacity for this first training, and we did duplicate it a couple of times. And then it kind of came to a halt in school year 2020 for obvious reasons. But we had a couple of different iterations of this, and we did it at a couple of different locations to give the teachers different exposure. We did it at our city-owned farmers market, where we also have some demonstration gardens. So again, they could have that hands-on experience. But we felt like this was the best way to kind of attack the school gardens and get people empowered to actually be able to do this in all of the schools. And the training ranged from a little bit of basic bio, how plants grow, soils, just touching on just enough to make our teachers dangerous with this information. And then we moved into more of the kind of administrative part of it, looking at, where are you going to get the money to do this? Is your school going to support this? Do you need to look into grants for this? Different things of that nature. We looked at the physical planning of it. Where will you place this? Where is your sun exposure? Where is the closest spigot? That was probably one of our biggest issues, is do you have a spigot nearby to get water from? And so we took them through each and every one of these steps and tried to provide them as many resources as possible, again, so that they kind of were able to walk in with a little more confidence about actually pursuing this project at their school. Next slide, please. So when it comes to this, every one of our schools is different. They're in different locations, some more rural, some more urban within the city. Different resources available as well. So there are a lot of different garden types that could be incorporated in these school gardens. There can be in-ground beds, there could be raised beds, there could be containers used. So no matter where the schools were, we knew that it was conceivable to have some type of growing environment in each and every one of them. The pictures that I have here are actually from SeaTac Elementary, which is an Achievable Dream Academy. And they have a really successful program there, and it is also integrated with some programs for young men and encouraging them. So they have some participation before and after school, and they have some active parents and volunteers also. But you can see in the top picture, they have some in-ground beds around the school, and they use every inch of it. Some has landscaping in it, but sometimes you'll see pumpkins in it as well. They also have some areas with some raised beds in one of the little courtyard areas that you see in the bottom picture. And I wanted to mention as well, I come from a landscape background. And so when we start talking about, placing these gardens and these beds, one of the things that came to my mind was, how is landscape services going to manage maintenance around these? So we actually worked with landscape services, and they actually offered to install the raised beds themselves if they could help in choosing the location to make their job easier and more feasible. So that is a great partnership to develop. If you're looking at doing raised beds and they are outside on the school's grounds, you might want to consider those folks that are having to maintain that and what works best for them. And you might even get a little buy-in from them, a little assistance there. Also, containers. So some of our schools just don't have the ability to do a whole lot outside as far as space goes. So they might need something a little bit smaller. And the family nutrition program that we work closely with did a bunch last year with grow bags. And these work really well. And at the end of the season, or if the end of the project, the students can actually take those home with them. So they worked really well. Grow bags are literally bags made of a type of material that provides drainage and so forth. They come with little handles on them so that they can be moved as well. So that's another great option for different types of gardening that can be done. Next slide, please. Not to mention the actual themes of the gardens that can be done. Most of the time when folks think about school gardens, they focus primarily on that spring to summer vegetable garden, which is great. We are trying to teach the children how to, grow, harvest, and eat fresh produce. But the timing of that really doesn't work really well with the school year. Most of the time, the teachers would get it in, and then the produce would start being produced while the students were gone. And so they were not getting that experience of actually being able to see what they had grown. So we try to encourage teachers to do other things like fall gardens. We have a fairly long growing season here in the southeast corner of Virginia, and we can do some great things with fall crops. So once the students return to school, putting in some of those cooler weather crops like some of the leafy greens, and allowing the students to have that experience all the way through planting, harvesting, and consuming. Even things like herbs were really great, being able to use those and showing students how to naturally season foods. It fell in really well with a lot of our health and nutrition lessons as well. But just the act of growing the plants in general is a super experience for these kids. So even gardens like pollinator gardens, alphabet gardens, where you have plants whose names begin with different letters of the alphabet, to also tie in with some of that core curriculum these students are trying to learn. Sensory gardens, and those are great for children with all needs levels, touching, feeling, smelling. And then I've seen some great examples too of animal gardens where plants that are named after animals like zebra grass can be planted, and you can have your own little plant zoo. So a lot of options when growing your gardens, just getting the kids outside, like Carol said, hands in the dirt, and working with these plants. Next slide, please. And we are full of resources at Virginia Cooperative Extension. So there, again, we tried to feed as many resources as we could to the teachers because there's only so much we could pack in that one workshop for them. But we have all types of things online that they could access, from planning vegetable gardens to using alternative spaces, containers, raised beds. We have an awesome calendar online that actually spells out, depending on what area of Virginia you're in, when you start planting, when you harvest different vegetables. So those are some great resources that you can find online in our VCE publications. And those are the types of things we try to provide to our teachers to make sure they had what they needed. Next slide, please. And I think probably one of our biggest questions was, how do I do this by myself? We all know that teachers have a very full plate as it is. So how can they manage this garden outside of school hours when kids aren't there during the summertime? How do we start this and keep it going without having to completely restart each and every year? So some of the things that we had looked into and some of the things that have been successful for some schools in Virginia Beach were involving the PTA. Those schools that had active PTAs, they just kind of made this part of their mission. And families would come out at different times to help with the garden, whether it was initial construction, summer maintenance, just to make sure that things were looking good, because their family was involved in that school and that was part of the school. And so they really enjoyed that. We also had several schools that started clubs. So this was outside of school time, usually after school. We did have a couple that had morning clubs before school. And some of them were garden clubs. And then we had a few that were actually culinary clubs, but they taught the students how to actually grow the different things that they would be using in the dishes that they were preparing. And that was really important as well, because unfortunately, none of our schools are really small enough for us to have a school garden that provides food for all students. So it would be limited supply, and things like a classroom or a club could benefit for some of the produce, but unfortunately, not the entire school. We also looked into community partners because some schools don't have as active PTAs in them. So who else could we get involved to help these teachers out with doing these school gardens? One of them, especially for those who chose to do a spring-summer production garden, we looked at using churches, especially those with food pantries or other organizations with food pantries. Many of them would agree to come out and maintain the garden during the summer if they could glean the produce for their food pantry. So that actually was a great connection that we could make and create a bond with the community and that school. Scout groups have also been very helpful, both Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, coming out to do things in the garden to earn badges, Eagle projects, different things of that nature. They've been a great partner for a lot of our school gardens. And then in the Southeast region of Virginia, we have a very high concentration of military as well. And so a lot of the military installations encourage their members to do community service. So we've actually had some great volunteers, some groups of Navy folks would come out and actually help, especially with large projects like installations or overhauls. They were happy to come out on a weekend and dig right in and do whatever they could to help as well. So those were some great outlets for our schools to find some assistance with these projects as well. High volume project for us, and just trying to figure out how to manage that and still be successful. All right, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrea. My name is Nicole Barrows. I'm the Director of Education at Project Grows. This is a great aerial shot of our farm. Yeah, next slide can just jump right in. You can go to the next one, actually. So Project Grows is a nonprofit educational organization and 10-acre farm in Stanton. Our mission is to improve the health and well-being of children, youth, and families in our community through garden-based education and access to healthy food. Next slide. So what we do is we connect people to nutritious foods. Part of my role as the director of education is to focus on children and youth. And that means really amazing school partnerships. So 3 ways that we are growing healthy youth in the Shenandoah Valley are through, number 1, food production, number 2, food access, and number 3, education. So what I'm going to highlight in this presentation is 2 of our school partnerships. And with each of them, I'll show kind of how we've partnered with them in these 3 aspects of our organization to give you some ideas about how a nonprofit farm can work together with school systems on similar goals. So next slide. So we were founded in 2010 and broke ground on our farm site in 2012. And soon after that began hosting many field trips from both Waynesboro Public Schools and Stanton City Schools.
I lost the sound. Did anybody else lose the sound?
Uh-oh. Nope. Should I keep rolling? Okay, cool. Thanks, Amber. Hope the sound works out for you, whoever that was. So we began hosting field trips soon after we broke ground. And then in 2015, launched a partnership with Stanton City Schools nutrition program and started providing cafeteria to classroom experiences. And as relationships with teachers and students and nutrition professionals started to grow over time, we began to start selling our produce to the cafeterias. We began hosting more grade level field trips from both divisions. And especially in the last couple of years, have started to dream with school officials and the nutrition programs about what farm to school initiatives could look like in these 2 divisions. And a lot of these initiatives have been funded through USDA grants. The 2 listed below have been a big part of being able to have the capacity to bring on staff and offer a lot of these programs at a division-wide level. So we'll jump right in. Next slide. The first thing I'll talk about is our food access, let's go to food production. So first and foremost, we are a farm. So we sell our fresh fruits and vegetables directly to school cafeterias. Next slide. I would like to highlight the number of pounds that we've sold to Stanton City Schools. So at our last count before this growing season, since 2015, we have sold or donated over 4,000 pounds of produce from our farm alone to Stanton City Schools. Produce sales are a huge part of what we do as a nonprofit farm. It makes a lot of sense for us to be partnering with schools to help with local procurement. And thanks to the Farm to School grant in the last couple of years, we've also gotten to play a unique role in helping to onboard other local producers to help encourage sales to the school cafeteria. So we're very, very proud of that work. Next slide. Okay, now food access. So part of what we do is work with schools to ensure that every student has access to fresh, healthy, and local food. Next slide. I'd love to highlight 2 programs under this sort of category. One is the Harvest of the Month program. If you're on this webinar, you probably know what Harvest of the Month is, but let me just share about what it looks like for Project Grows and our 2 divisions. So together with both school nutrition programs, over the course of a couple of years, we planned and facilitated dozens of school-wide lunch tastings where every student in the division on the same day, a lot of coordination, got to try a tasting of a local vegetable. So for example, as this slide says, like in April, every student got to try a turnip. This is a huge collaborative effort to have volunteers at every school on the same day, and was a really important way for the Project Grows farmers and staff to have some really cool FaceTime with nutrition professionals, cafeteria managers, students, teachers, administrators in the cafeterias during lunchtime. On the next slide, there I think is a fun picture of just a fun radish tasting. One of the best things that I get to see is sort of the contagious excitement and energy of, you know, everyone knowing that there's radishes coming, like, oh, one of the veggie ladies going to come to our table. And it's very exciting to see sort of that positive peer pressure and kids actually wanting to taste it. And then next slide, here are some quotes and that we hear these types of quotes all the time after our tastings and field trips. So, you know, kids saying like, I didn't like X and now I really like this thing, or I didn't think that I ever wanted to taste Y and now I really like to taste Y. So yeah, I think one of the coolest things that we get to be a part of is getting to see some of this attitude change in the moment. Next slide. Here's a quote from Amanda Warren, our director of school nutrition in Stanton, one of the most wonderful farm to school champions that we get to work with. She says, this is why it's so exciting when a child tries a harvest of the month vegetable. Exposure leads to trying leads to choosing, and choosing leads to asking for it at home. So anecdotally, we have a lot of parents telling us, my child wants that vegetable that they tried at school yesterday. They're asking for it. They told me I have to go to the grocery store and buy this thing. And that's really exciting for us as we think about improving the health of children and youth in our community. But next slide, we also have seen anecdotally the way that has an impact in school on the confidence of cafeteria managers to actually put in orders for local produce. So it's like this beautiful feedback loop where when we're doing tastings, students want to try those things. They tell people they want to try them. And then the managers are like, okay, we'll put in orders for those things now. So we've seen our produce sales grow over time, thanks to a lot of different factors, but yeah, one is definitely the harvest of the month tasting. Next slide. The other program I wanted to highlight under food access is our the fact that we've been able to host the summer feeding programs for many years from Stanton City Schools and now also from Waynesboro. So as a nonprofit farm, we run our own summer camps. And we also, as part of our food access work, manage farmers markets throughout the community. And our school systems, by partnering with us on summer feeding, can expand their reach for their free summer meals because kids are coming to camp, kids are coming to the farmers markets with their families. But another byproduct of that is that by having the nutrition professionals staffing these booths at our farmers markets, for example, those nutrition professionals are getting to meet local farmers on a regular basis. And that is a great way for those two entities to meet. And we're seeing that lead to more local procurement, more opportunities for local farmers to be making sales to schools. So that's very exciting for us to get to facilitate those connections. Okay, next slide. And the last thing I want to cover is some of our education programs, which I get to oversee. Next slide, we'll look at our field trip programs. So field trips are a really big part of what we do. We have hosted hundreds of students and teachers for field trips to our farm. Teachers can reach out and tell us what they are studying in their classes, and then we will design a field trip for them on our 10 acres that kind of get to explore that topic. Next slide. We also manage school gardens, just highlighting Dixon Education Center. That's the public preschool in Stanton. We've managed that garden for several years, and we also facilitate a lot of really exciting spring and fall lessons for the preschoolers. Next slide. And then real quick, the initiative that I'm excited about these days is our Youth Leaders in Ag program. This was born out of a desire to want to provide education for the high schoolers that had aged out of our younger programming. And we partnered with the schools in order to make this a career exploration initiative where students are learning about farming, leadership, and health. Next slide. So this functions as a mentorship placement through the CTE classes in the spring and fall, and a job experience in the summertime over 8 weeks. Next slide. And I'm just going to flip through these really quickly. Here are some really cool things that students get to do with us. So they participate in all aspects of food production. They learn about Snappy BT by assisting at the farmers markets. You can go to the next one. They work together to design spaces at our farms and gardens. They lead farm tours. They get lots of public speaking experience. Next slide. They go to field trips to other farms. They help out at our school gardens. They serve as camp counselors. Keep going. And they also get to practice cooking with what they make. And they're getting some cool resume and cover letter writing experience here in this picture, which is pretty fun. And then we'll go to my last slide. I just wanted to share some tips for some farm to school connections. 2 things that we've learned is to move at the pace of relationship. And identifying those farm to school champions in your school and thinking about what doors they might be able to open up for you. And then also working collaboratively with teachers and administrators when you can, and trying not to reinvent the wheel, but trying to see what programs exist already that you can come in and do a farm to school program that sort of meets your goals and the school's goals. So yeah, thanks for listening.
All right, y'all. Thank you, Nicole. My name is Ryan Blosser. I'm the farm educator at Waynesboro City Schools, and I'm going to briefly tell a story about a very young project that I'm super excited about, and that's the Waynesboro Education Farm. And we're in the process of year 3 right now, moving from the startup phase into sustainability. And so we'll talk about how we're planning on getting there and have lots of room at the end for some questions. All right. Waynesboro Education Farm broke ground back in March of 2021. The 2 pictures you see there, the first picture is a field and a basketball court adjacent to one of our elementary schools in town, Berkeley Gwinnett Elementary. It's a school close to my heart. I actually met my best friend on one of those goals when I was 8 years old. And that field was an unused field. The students during recess would not use it because it slopes down away from the goals. And when you play at recess out there, everyone will lose their balls in the woods and weren't allowed to go get them. And so during some problem solving sessions, while Waynesboro was writing a grant for the Department of Education, an extended school year grant, one of the ideas came into focus of putting a farm that would be a resource for the district in that space. The first partner that the school district partnered with was AMI, Allegheny Mountain Institute, and got to work installing the farm. The picture on the right there is what it looked like back in 2021 after the initial installation happened. Next slide, please. All hands were on deck to get it installed, put up a deer fence, made some rows, some beds, brought in tons and tons and tons of compost to get started. Next slide, please. And at this point, things were cruising. So first year, the production of the garden space yielded about 2,700 pounds of food. And the following year, which would be last year, yielded 4,464 pounds of food. At this point, that farm space is sitting on about an acre of tilled land. And the goal of the project for these first 2 years was all about food production, moving as much product as possible into elementary schools and into the community for folks that were food insecure. Next slide. So 2 major events happened just last fall, and it put the project in a little bit of a small C crisis. The first event that happened was our contract with AMI, community partner. It expired, which meant that it was time to put out proposals for new community partners. And the second thing happened, our 3rd year of our ESY grant was unexpectedly not funded. And that was a little bit scary for folks in the school district that were really attached to the project. And some rethinking of the farm's goals started happening in the space and how to use it more effectively for the schools. Next slide, please. Of all the options that explored, Waynesboro City Schools decided at that point to fund the project themselves and commit to the community farm. And this time, instead of having it focus on food production, focus it more specifically on education and tie the outcomes to student achievement. This was a really exciting change. And when that happened, and the proposals for contracts went out, Project Grows was chosen as a new partner. They also decided to hire someone in-house through local funds, that was myself, that had a background in farming, in mental health, and as a classroom teacher and in nonprofit leadership. Next slide, please. So this is the Project Grows team that came on board. You guys all met Nicole. We have Jason, who's on our farm now, Fullerton, as program coordinator. His new title is farm manager, and he's been doing a great job with food production, just killing it in a very short period of time. Any of y'all who've done market farming knows how incredibly difficult it is, and he is doing a great job with that. Next slide, please. So our job wasn't done yet in re-envisioning the project. We had this space, we had a market farm. The market farm space was too tight for a lot of kids to get on. And when I got hired, I kept hearing the same thing from parents and from school administration. Where are the kids on the farm? So the committee of folks involving both Project Grows, our partner, and professionals with the schools got together and started dreaming up what a new space might look like. Next slide, please. We came up with this goal statement to drive our new space. Waynesboro Education Farm is a community-facing learning lab engaging the development of the whole child and their families. Next slide, please. And this is a rendering of what the new site is now becoming. We have cut the production area in half, and we're adding a lot more elements designed to instill curiosity and to be a much more kid-friendly space. Some examples that I want to highlight: we're putting in a forest garden or food forest to mimic an ecosystem. We've got a water feature. We put in an outdoor classroom. I'll have a picture of that here in a minute. We're experimenting with a espalier tree windbreak. We have a kitchen compost display. Another really exciting thing to help with the winter curriculum delivery is in our greenhouse. We have on order, and we'll be installing next month, an aquaponics system where we'll be raising catfish. And of course, with the waste from the catfish, raising lettuce greens. And we have a willow dome going in as well for another outdoor classroom space. All kinds of cool stuff happening. Next slide, please. We work with many different ways to deliver the curriculum. We have garden clubs. We have an after-school chef program with the high school and Kate Collins that we deliver food to. We have donated this year over 3,000 pounds of food to Disciples Kitchen collaboration. We have volunteer nights the first Wednesday of every night. And district-wide, we have classes coming on site, not for field trips, for lessons. That's one of the ways we've been able to get more teacher buy-in. Next slide, please. So to that top left corner of what you're looking at, that's an example of what our outdoor kitchen looks like, our outdoor classroom looks like. We've got all kinds of other elements. The bottom left is a sunflower spiral. Next slide, please. Oh, that's it. So one thing I want to share that I'm really excited about is this year in 2023, 2024, since August, our farm numbers, even though we cut our production area in half, we have increased the amount of food we produce from last year, despite that losing half that production area. Meanwhile, We've had over 900 students on the farm for SOL standard delivered lessons, and again, about 3,000 pounds of food have been donated. I'll go ahead and finish there, and let me know if y'all got any questions.
All right. Thank you so much. It's so fantastic just hearing all the stories. And I know that while I've been talking, I see that there's 10 different questions in the chat. So I'm going to ask Janelle if she can just kind of pull out the questions there, and those questions as well as any other ones that you have. If you can just, I'll let Janelle go first, and then we'll unmute for folks who want to ask their questions.
Well, the first one was, will we be sharing the slide deck? And I said yes. So anybody else who might have that question, we will be sharing that as well. There's not any direct questions as far as the material. So if anyone wants to ask questions, you know, cut your mic on, or if you want to pop them in the chat, I'll be happy to ask them out loud for you. I'm just in awe of all the hard work and the successes with all 4 of our presenters today. Really incredible work.
I agree. While other folks are putting their questions in there, one thing, you know, a lot of you talked about, it was really interesting to hear from the extension side of things, and then also hear from the organization or school side of things, how different things are being done. What would you, if you had any practical advice or tips to give to people that are trying to get started? You know, when I look, I personally was involved with the Project Rose, so I know that that started back in 2010. You know, a lot of planning, a lot of partners in that. What kind of advice would you all give? And you all can just kind of share as you see fit here.
I would recommend that people look for sponsors if they're looking for some sponsors. Lowe's was really good. Some of the local hardwares around here were really good to donate. PTA, PTO, you know, you don't have to have a lot of money to get started, but you do need a little bit of startup money, you know, just to buy some basic hand tools and, you know, some things like that. Again, Lowe's was really good about helping us kind of get started here in the county for one of our gardens.
A couple of quick thoughts on that. A vision is just a vision. So do something first so the community will start bragging about you. Don't take no for an answer. And then if the community and teachers and people aren't feeling you, then you're not going to get anywhere. So make sure you connect to them first.
Great advice.
I think one of the things that we discovered is there's always a way to incorporate gardening, growing within the school system. You just have to meet them where they are. So like I said, it can be containers, it can be in ground, it can be raised beds, but there's always a way. It can be cups in the windowsill of the classroom, but there's always a way to incorporate that. And I think it's so important to get these into our children's hands early on and make that impression. Sow that seed, if you will, so that it's something that continues on with them. So find out, you know, what they have, what they don't have, and what will work best, but there's always a way.
I would add that I think a lot of the success that we have had has really been based on building trust with those farm to school champions, you know, whether they are teachers or, you know, facilities maintenance, sport folks, or administrators or school nutrition directors. But then as soon as it's possible, formalizing the partnership. So it's not just a relationship, but that there's a piece of paper that says like, this is what's expected of both parties. Because if there is staff turnover on with either party, then that project can exist for another year and doesn't just go away if someone's in a new role or something. and building in reintroductions at the beginning of each school year. So having everyone say, okay, this is your garden coordinator, or, you know, this is the school principal, and these are your volunteers. Just knowing that you're going to have to do another round of introductions every August.
I really loved all your advice. I feel like there's so many good nuggets there for folks. What I heard when Ryan was sharing, also that flexibility, like I think his story is really interesting, and like they had an initial vision and it was for food production, and then when things kind of came along, instead of that, what we might look at as adversity, or like a way that might just totally cause the project to die, they sat down and they re-talked, and they found a way to work with that and develop a new or a phase two of the project where they could look at it from a different angle. So I really love that, and I think that is so important to be able to have that kind of a vision and flexibility as you're planning. In terms of the financial side of it, so I know we heard like Carol had great advice on, like you can start small, that there's local folks. Obviously, with the grants, that is a lot more work and takes time. I'm curious, how did you build those partnerships for those of you that had the grants? How did you get all the players around the table in order to make that happen? So that would be either Nicole or Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I share about these things, I feel like I'm also sharing about things that came before my time. I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me, but I think there's so much local funding opportunities, such as United Way and Community Foundation, things like that, that have provided such incredible support over the years, that then helps to build those local connections and build really meaningful partnerships that then help to build more compelling narratives for bigger grants, like federal grants, because federal grants are wanting to see partnerships with sustainability, that you're really tapping into community need and not just like making up a need and going for it, but that you've really like done your work and talked to all the people that are involved, and have a plan, for what happens after year 3 or whatnot. So I think in our experience, it's been sort of building on those more local funding opportunities. I don't know if Ryan, you have anything to add to that.
I don't know that I have a helpful answer. Grant writing and doing the work of building the partnerships to execute and apply for these grants is a full-time job. So it's hard to do that and deliver curriculum and farm and deliver food and. The brilliant thing that Waynesboro City Schools did, that a lot of schools have the opportunity to do, is hire a grant writer. And so we work very closely with our admin and our grant writing team to develop those ideas and the reports as well.
Great. Janelle, were there other questions in the chat box?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we are close to the end of it, but I just want to thank you all so very much for your time today. This was really fantastic, and I think coming from so many different angles really gives us all some food for thought here. And I do want to encourage you to check out our upcoming Toolkit webinar series and playlists. So as Janelle said earlier, we will have these available as videos. So we will take the one from today that will be edited, and that will definitely be available for us to share with you. So if you could please, you can go to the website where we have the registration. These are the last 2 remaining webinars that we have, but we have a number of ones from before that that have been done already. So things like the funding, telling your story, how to build a team, we've already had those. So I encourage you to view that on our playlist. And then the the channel can be found on that website link at the bottom.